Hi, welcome to another episode of the Akiona Law Podcast. I am Lonnie Akiona, and in this podcast, we talk about all things that intersect in the areas of family law and divorce. And today we're going to talk about divorce and co-parenting. And I have with me today divorced dad, wonderful co-parent, former Marine, avid CrossFitter, professional writer, and check this out, he's also a juggler, Eddie D.
Hey, Lonnie, how are you doing? That was an amazing introduction. If I live to be 100, I probably won't get an introduction that good ever again. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're too kind. And you are a dad, correct?
Yes, ma'am. Very it's the greatest thing going. Great. I'm a dad and I'm divorced. I'm both of those things.
And you have a daughter?
I do. She's 6 years old.
6 years old. Did she start first grade yet?
She's actually starting kindergarten. She's had one of those weird halfway birthdays where it was kind of like she could have gone either way. So it was she's starting kindergarten in the fall.
Kindergarten in the fall. How exciting is that?
Oh, I keep telling her to stop growing and she's not listening to me. She promises she'll stop growing. So I wanted to hold her at like the 6-year-old. She's a blast right now. So I keep telling her to stop growing. Nope, not listening to me. No,
it happens quick.
Yeah, fast. Oh, it blinks. It just happens. The days drag, but the years fly. It just, wow, blinks.
Yeah. And going backwards into the divorce, right? So was your divorce, and we're just going to dive right into it. Right.
Let's get into it. Let's rip the Band-Aid off. No worries.
So let me ask you this. How long were you and your wife married?
Oh, we were married almost 7 years, together for almost 10, married 7, from 2013 to 2020, right in the middle of the pandemic. So if there's any sort of divorce statistics for the pandemic, I may have added to it.
But you didn't get divorced because of the pandemic.
No. Oh, goodness, no.
But were you one of those people that because of the pandemic, all of the problems, and because you guys were just stuck, all the problems just kind of reared its ugly head, came to us? You know what I mean?
No, I mean it's way more complicated. I wish I could pinpoint one thing. But no, it's definitely not that. I couldn't pinpoint to that. I couldn't hang on the pandemic. It wasn't because before I was a writer, I was a Boston firefighter. So I had a really strange schedule. I was working 2 days on, or I was only working 2 days out of 8. So I was basically the full-time dad the rest of the time. So I am the guy who's been around the house always in that sort of environment. So it wasn't like I was gone 30 hours in 3 days and working 60, 70 hours a week and home for an hour. And I was usually home and changing diapers and running around and doing bottles and being a parent with my wife.
Hands-on.
Trying to. I had a lot to learn. I'm a slow learner, and it was a very steep learning curve.
Well, and just wait till you hit the teenage years.
Oh, don't put that hex on me. Everyone, I know as a teenage daughter, I'm like, what's it like? They're like, oh, like, good luck. I'm like, oh no. We'll get through it. We'll be all right. We'll be all right.
Yeah, one step at a time.
One step at a time. Let's get through 6 first.
I know she's got to start kindergarten first.
Yeah. Okay. We have a ways to go. So there's.
Yeah. So going back to, can I ask you, like, how long did that divorce process take? Because it could take anywhere from 1 to 2 years. Oh
goodness. So like with North Carolina, so I'm originally from Boston. We moved down to North Carolina and we separated 6 months after we got down here. Like, so I just quit a job. I had committed to writing full time. I was in the middle of a career change. I mean, like, what they say the most stressful things are marriage/divorce, a new job, and a new house. I did all 3 in about a month.
Wow.
So I was just kind of loading up on there. But so the process in North Carolina takes at least a year. You have to be legally separated for a year.
Really?
Under separate roofs. I mean, it's a long, in some ways it's better, not better, but in terms of like convenience, because we basically had the agreement laid out within 3 or 4, maybe 2 months. After I moved out.
Wow.
And then you just got to ride the wave until wait till the year's up. And once the year was up, just you get a letter in the mail and it's done.
Really? Wow.
That was it. I mean, no courts. I mean, because everything was all ironed out. We had a separation agreement. The separation agreement became our agreement. There was nothing in there that needed to be addressed. I mean, you address all the issues, but they do make you wait a full year in North Carolina before you get divorced. And I know some people pad the date or they change the date. I just did the date I actually moved out and just waited a year.
Well, that's great that you guys, that the hardest part was not reaching the agreement, but actually waiting out the year.
Yeah, and even then, I mean, but you're moving on with your life. I mean, it's like you're divorced, but you're not. I mean, it's very. I mean, you're living your own
Right.
house. I mean, I literally bought my own home, while I was separated. I mean, she had moved out. Yeah, I mean, like, we had very separate lives. We were still married. It was very strange. It was more mentally strange than anything else.
So would you say then that during the process of your divorce and your separation that it was I guess it was agreed, not necessarily contested?
Yeah, but I remember I first time I called my attorney. So my brother's an attorney up in Boston. I was like, I need a lawyer, and I gave me a name of, because I didn't know anybody down here. I like absolutely no one. I got a great attorney, and love the guy. Absolutely love him. He was took care of me, respected me. It was just a
Okay.
great relationship. And yeah, so I remember calling him and I was like, yeah, it's uncontested. He's like, oh, we'll find out about that. And it's like, yeah, he's like, wait till we dig in. But we had a few issues we had to iron out, because I mean, she was planning on moving away. That was probably the biggest hurdle. But other than that, I mean, it was relatively simple. I mean, it's just, I'm pretty easygoing, I think. My ex-wife might not agree to that, but I mean, I'm pretty easygoing. So, but I mean, it was just small details we had to iron out. And then we just moved on with our lives. Really wasn't necessarily as painful as everyone makes it out to be. I mean, luckily, knock on wood, it can be. I think maybe I'm just fortunate in that position.
Yeah, it does sound like you're pretty fortunate in the fact that you guys were able to come to agreement because the biggest thing is parenting.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah.
did you two already kind of have this agreement or decision that we're going to be, I don't know, are you 50-50 co-parents?
We are not. I mean, it was kind of strange because I think the greatest success here, if I've had any success in any of this, I think, are both of my ex-wife and I give her credit as well, is that we've put our daughter first in terms of, at least we've tried to.
Okay.
Like that's been the goal. And like, even when I moved out, like my daughter just moved down here from Boston and she was in a house that she loved. And it's like, okay, she can stay in her room. She loves that room. She loves her bed. Let's minimize. I don't want to start ripping furniture out of the house. I don't want to make it look like the house is empty. Like, I want her to wake up, like try to feel like this is different, but as close to what she was used to as I could. And like usually when you have any sort of value-based system, like decisions are usually made for you. If you can have your values laid out ahead of time, there's nothing that's you just act in accordance to your values. And if you use your daughter or son as a compass heading, I mean, the answers are all right there. I mean, it's really not that complicated.
Wow. That's powerful because you're saying, like, here I am in this mess of this painful divorce, but my
Mhm.
value is going to be focusing on my daughter's best interests.
Oh yeah, you look to the future. I mean, I think of it as like building a fire. It's just like there's kindling and there's logs, and I'm stealing this metaphor from someone who mentored me years ago.
Okay.
But there's kindling and logs. Like, so if I'm trying to build a fire, I mean, for us was, you could use it to apply it to any sort of goal. For us was being able to separate, dissolve our marriage, and be
Right.
parents at the same time. That was the goal. That was the fire. And you think, what am I going to do? Like, if I'm going to build that, am I going to put kindling or logs in? I mean, like, showing up on time and like the parent, like that's all kindling. Like, look at how can I build logs? How can I put logs in the fire? How can I build a co-parent relationship? So even the small things like writing an email to your ex-wife, start out with, hey, how's it going? If she calls, hey, what are you up to? How you been? I mean, that to me is a log. It's just like it's establishing a respectful relationship and going back and forth, and necessarily one that I had to learn. But I mean, it's just like, what is going to make the most progress here towards this sort of relationship that we're trying to accumulate and build for the sake of our child.
You know, that's deep, kind of like thinking of that as a log in terms of establishing a respectful relationship. That's like a log here that I want to use.
Yeah.
There was something popped up in my mind when you're talking about that because it is tough, right? Because it's like, how do we get there? How do we
Mm.
get past our own feelings of hurt
Yep.
and what is the word? Just like sense of loss, even,
Oh, yeah, it's like a
right?
death.
Anger.
I mean, it hurt. I mean, I'm not, I gloss over it to mean
Yeah.
casual, but I mean, it hurt. I mean, it definitely hurts. I mean, you go through a grieving process, just like a death. I mean, it's just like, and I mean, I remember sitting there saying, I remember staring at the floor when I first got separated. I was like, what now? I mean, I was just
Yeah.
like, I have no idea what to do. Absolutely no idea. I think the first thing to do is establish a mindset. I mean, just almost be selfish about it. Like, I have to make sure that I'm on point. I mean, I have a system for that in terms of like how to maintain my own sort of mental health and physical health. But it's
Can you share that system with us? If
Sure,
it's
sure.
not
So I mean, and again, I'm stealing this from everybody else. I'm stealing this from a guy named Ben Bergeron, who's a CrossFit coach up in New England. But I mean, in the 5 priorities, number 1 is sleep. Number 1 is absolutely sleep. Like, make sure I get to make, for me, I go to bed around 8 o'clock and get up at 4:20 in the morning every day. Number 2 is your diet. Make sure, I mean, clean, unprocessed foods, whole foods, prioritize protein, vegetables. Nothing wrong with fruit. And then the number 3 is training, physical training. For me, it's CrossFit. I mean, I make sure I get in that almost every day. Number 4 is a mindset, like the sort of your value-based system. Number 5 is human connection. And that either comes in terms of your family, your friends, or a mental health counselor. And if you have all 5 of those things kind of in line and prioritize it in that way, it kind of falls in line. Because I mean, if I'm like, there's all, I always talk about kindling. There's things like false kindling, things that you think are making it better. Like your friends tell you after divorce, let's go out and get drunk. I don't drink. But I mean, like, let's go out and it's such an easy excuse because everyone's like, oh, you deserve this. You deserve this. Go out, party, have a good time. And that's false kindling. All those things, because it sets you back. It disrupts your sleep, disrupts your diet, disrupts your training. And then when next time you are sending an email to your former partner, you might not be in the right mindset to be able to prioritize your daughter or your son. I mean, you've got to set your mindset first. Like,
Wow.
if I wasn't sleeping or if I wasn't eating right, I mean, I just wouldn't be in the position to be able to set aside my emotions. I don't bury emotions. That's unhealthy. I'm going to deal with these later. I'm going to deal with these through somebody else in a proper channel. Today's not the day. But I mean, you can make those decisions when you're mentally and physically healthy. But if you don't take care of yourself, you'll never be in that position. Never.
It's okay. So we've got sleep is 1. We've got
Sleep number,
diet.
diet's number 2.
We've got 3 is training, which could
Training.
be physical exercise.
Yep.
4 is
Hiking, walking, mindset, your
right.
values.
4 is mindset, and that could be even like, to me, mindset could also be like waking up with gratitude, right? What am I grateful for today?
100% yes. 100%
meditation. And the human
100%.
connection, like who am I? And to me, it's not even like, okay, am I working, especially with divorce, am I working with a counselor to help me process things? Or is there a family member or friend and someone that's positive and not negative?
Yeah, you can't go through this alone. I mean, you can't go through a death alone. You can't go through a divorce alone. I mean, there are so many times, and I even post divorce. I mean, like, I have 2 younger brothers. I don't have an older brother. My cousin is my version of my older brother. I mean, there's so many times I just pick up. So I'm just feeling like I don't know what to do right now. I'm in the darkness right now. I don't know what it is, but I mean, I just need help.
Right.
And like, let's just talk. Listen, that's all it was. There was no advice there. I mean, everyone tells you it's going to get better. It's going to get better. I don't think it gets better. It gets different. It just keeps morphing and evolving. And you're just in a better position to deal with it. Once you've gone through the grieving process, you're in a better position to deal with the challenges. And I think that's where it gets quote unquote better. But it definitely just doesn't get better. It gets different. And you just got to be able to face the challenges. Right now, it's great. Tomorrow, my ex-wife and I will always be a work in progress. I mean, we'll always have a challenge or a battle to face together, and we'll have to work it out. And so far, so good. I mean, we've gotten through a bunch of hurdles. Still standing.
If you can you give us an example of a hurdle and how you walk through that?
Oh, I mean, there's just been so many. I mean, it happens a lot. I mean, like relatively, they're small.
Yeah.
I mean, the classic, joint legal custody in terms of like medical decisions. I mean, like just like how like my daughter has eye issues. So it's like, what is the best course of treatment? And again, nobody, and I truly believe this. I don't think anybody does the wrong thing intentionally. I think most people think they're doing the right thing. And like for both of us, when we sat down and talked about like what the right course of medical treatment was, we both had the same end goal in mind. It was to do what's best for our daughter. We had different opinions on how that was going to play out and what path to take.
Okay.
So I think both of us walked away from that issue compromising. I think we both compromised, and it was going back and forth. And a lot of times I don't like text anymore. It always reads weird. Yeah. I mean, it's nice to text. We usually have it established. We do email. That's usually our preferred communication method. But we've gotten better now. We can talk on the phone. It's completely cordial. Hey, how's it going? How you been? Have a wonderful weekend. Oh, yeah, etc. But we basically had to compromise. Like, how can we both get what we want here? And because if in terms of like medical decisions, the only option after that is going to court. It's a 1-to-1 tie. I mean, and that's not good for anybody. I mean, it's sometimes you need it sometimes, but I mean, that's top of the mountain for me. Like I said, if it gets to that, it gets to that. But there are multiple steps to take before I got to that. So I think we just both walked away with we compromised. Let's try this for X period of time. If this doesn't work, we'll switch to this. And it was fine. And then now we're until the next hurdle, Lonnie, until off to the next one.
Did you said that if you guys don't reach compromise on this medical decision, then it's straight to court. You folks don't have like a mediation.
Oh, no. I mean, I think like it escalates to court. I misspoke. Yeah, there absolutely, there would be multiple steps in between. Yeah, but we resolved that. It's something we've talked through. So, I mean, the problem is right now, the issue is moot. I mean, again, it was just a thing that we had to come up, we had to work together. And and again, the funniest thing is like, after you get separated, like, I'll never get there. I'll never be the person that can hang out with my ex-wife's boyfriend, or I'm never going to be the person that's going to,
right.
But you get there, and you won't believe it, but you will.
Now, how do you do that? How do you get there?
I don't know.
How did you get there?
How did I get? I mean, the only way to ever process any sort of emotion is either A, talk about it, and we go back to mindset, mental and connection with mental health professionals,
okay.
Or B, to sit there and feel it. I mean, like really, really feel like whatever pain you're going through like that. I mean, whatever discomfort. I mean, you always have the classic thoughts about divorce, like someone's going to replace me as a dad. When my ex-wife starts dating other people, like obviously like that completely nullifies our relationship and just disappears. I mean, everyone has the same ideas. I mean, at least along those lines. And I mean, if you have those thoughts, don't numb them with drinking or watching 8 hours of Netflix or buying on Amazon. I mean, it just
watching 8 hours of Netflix.
That's okay. Maybe every now and then we can talk about Netflix shows. It depends what the show is, Nolani. It depends what the show is. But I mean, if you can't, all right, there's
Ozark. All right, come on.
All right, fair. Yeah. See, look at us compromising. If it's Ozark, we're cool.
Yeah.
But I mean, but you can't. But it's listen. It's one thing if like you're watching 8 hours of Ozark with your partner and you're cuddled up in blankies and there's a fire going, you got hot chocolate going. Like, life is good. I mean, you're enjoying it. Maybe that to like enhance your life a little bit. But if you're shutting yourself in away from people and the doors closed and it's 2:00 on a Tuesday and you're in the 7th hour, and you're in the 7th hour of Ozark, I'm like, maybe that's not the healthiest thing for you. So I mean, right, you just can't be relying on it. I mean, but if I'm using that to mask the pain versus feeling it, like you got to feel the pain. If like to sit down and bite the bullet, and like I'm be okay being very uncomfortable. And I think that's how I processed it.
That sucks because nobody likes feeling pain. I mean, I know I don't like feeling pain and I try to avoid pain at all cost.
I love CrossFit, so pain's my thing. No, really? It hurts. It just, you got to do it. It's the only way out is through. The obstacle is the way. Quote the Ryan Holiday.
Oh yeah. And of course, when I do face, and I always just like, oh no. And then you go through it and you're like, okay, wait, that wasn't so bad. I made it out.
Yep.
But I think,
you don't have to dive headfirst into it either. I mean, it's just.
But I think an important thing that you touched upon too is making sure that you do have that human connection, as a counselor to talk to and help you process it. And again, because the big thing is, because it is such a big thing when divorce happens. And people are thinking about bringing in that significant others. And there's a lot of pushback that I deal with as an attorney where people are like, well, I don't want my child to meet mom's boyfriend, at least not until mom has been dating guy for 6 months.
Yep.
And then I can kind of understand that.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I was quick to adapt the policy. We have separate lives. I mean, it's like, I try not to, it's so hard, like to isolate your feelings. Like, am I really saying this because my daughter's going to be uncomfortable? Or it's going to make me feel uncomfortable? And it's just because it's so easy to say, oh, my son or daughter is like, this is not good for them. This is why, because it's a fail safe. It's a win. It's a trump card. But like it's tough to like sit down and really think about it. Is this bothering me? And am I using my son or daughter to say that? I mean, so I adopted. We had separate lives, and I was like, I focus on what I could control. I think it's my policy is always what happens outside of my head is not up to me. I can't control that. It's a losing battle to think you can. But I mean, I focus on what I can control and I double down on things I can control. And that was being a good dad, like
Right.
doing the pancake mornings, having matching t-shirts, like walking around, going to the pool, teaching her to swim. I mean, that's the things I can control. I can't control the stuff that happens outside of my world.
Right. Have matching t-shirts. What kind of matching t-shirts do you guys
Mine
have?
says pancake maker and hers says assistant pancake maker. And
Oh
they're
my
absolutely,
gosh.
and they're 100% pink.
Where'd you get them from?
Oh, they're Amazon. As I'm telling you not to buy stuff on Amazon. Oh yeah, we bought those on Amazon. Caveat, you can watch Ozark and you can buy pancake shirts on Amazon. That's completely cool.
Yeah. And pink too.
And paint.
Daddy and daughter. I love that.
Oh yeah. My nails are usually pink on most days. I mean, they're not painted today, but I definitely have pink nails before, pink nails, pink toenails, and that's the good stuff.
Does she paint your toenails and fingernails?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, that is just too cute.
I'm still waiting on the lipstick. When she starts telling me how to put, we don't have any lipstick in the house, thankfully.
Okay.
But I mean, at some point, the lipstick's going to go on. I mean, and I mean, if I've opened the door for nail and toenail polish, I think lipstick's next obvious choice.
Yeah, I mean, they do have just tint it though, like tint it. You could do that.
I haven't been in the lipstick game for a while, so I have to figure out what the right tint is for my complexion, my New England pale complexion.
You can't go wrong with berry. Berry is supposed to be complimentary in anyone.
Well, it is a compliment like pale people who live in like snow-ridden darkness all year long, like I used to. But so if berry's my god, yeah, it's cold. It's cold and dark.
Yeah,
cold and dark. At least I remember it that way.
So just going back, it's really interesting because first of all, you just sound like this enlightened human being. But I think, but I mean,
I'm good at faking it, but thank you.
But I think it was important to know is that it takes work. Like it goes back again to you're talking about sleep, diet, training, mindset, and human connection.
Yeah.
And I think it sounds like you really kind of got there with work of having a counselor and just kind of maybe working on your own mindset.
Yeah, and I mean, in listening to advice of people that come before me. I mean, I remember like you always think to yourself like, oh, I'm divorced. I'm wearing like the scarlet letter on me now. Like I'm going to walk around, everyone's going to judge me. And then I looked at some of the people I was either mentored by or people I looked up to, and I realized they were divorced. Like I didn't look at them any differently. Like why would anyone look at me any differently? I just like it's just something you go through. And it's a element of your life. It's a chapter in your life, or many chapters for most people. But yeah, no, I just listen to other people. I just listen to what I mean. I just shut up and listen. Someone knows more about this than I do, and I just throw stuff at a wall. I mean, I tried things that didn't work. But it just this is that like that sort of 5 things has worked really well for me.
And I think what's really an important thing that you touched upon was saying that, I can only control what's going on inside my head and my own actions. It's kind of almost akin to, I've heard this saying that, I can only control what's in my own hula hoop.
Yep.
Anything beyond my hula hoop, I can't control.
Nothing. No, I mean, and even your own thoughts are deceptive. I mean, if you really think about it, like divorce can't hurt me. It's the thoughts in my head that hurt me post-divorce. I mean, my ex-wife dating someone is not going to hurt me. It doesn't, there's nothing, that's right. It's just the thoughts you have. And I mean, and if you realize these thoughts, and there's an old quote, I can't remember who said it. It's like, if you're depressed, you're living in the past. If you're living in the future, you're anxious. And if you're living in the now, you're at peace.
Yeah.
And so I was like, let me find ways to focus now. And it's just like, I can get out of the past, I can get out of the future. I won't be anxious. I won't be depressed. Like, what can I do right now to center myself? And you always have these things around you. And I've turned my little house into the house that I wanted to have when I was like 10 years old. Everything in my house I wanted when as a 10-year-old is probably in my house right now. Mostly Dave Matthews stuffs and guitars and record players and books. And I was just like, so I have these things that are centered around me.
Actual record players? You got record players?
Oh, heck yeah. Lonnie, I got hundreds of records. Records, as they say up north.
Oh, okay. I remember those days.
Yeah. Oh, good. You got to get back into it. It's amazing. Because it's peaceful. You can sit there and you play it, and you can sit down and you actively listen to it. It's not hitting a button. It's not sliding back and forth. Like you can sit there, look at the lake, play a record, and sit there and just be in the moment. And like that's the way to get out of your own head. It's like, what can I do? What can I do right now? Get out of my own head. And like, that was it. That's because you're not living the past, you're not living the future, and you're not anxious, you're not depressed. I mean, you're just listening to music, and like, you're going to deal with the next problem after it comes. And like, that's the present moment. When the problem happens, that's the now. Like that's what I'm dealing with. That's the hurdle I'm dealing with.
Sorry. What pops in my mind is that term future tripping, right? And it just goes back to what you were talking about when you're talking about like, okay, so it's my thoughts, and the thoughts are
Mhm.
like future tripping. So is my ex-wife actually dating someone gonna harm me? No, it's not. But the thoughts, because the thoughts is you start spinning, you start thinking ahead, and isn't it actually just kind of fear? Like what?
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
it's
Yep.
so the fear is my wife is going to start dating somebody. What if my
Mhm.
daughter really likes this new man? And what if he starts calling starts calling him daddy instead of me? What if my daughter loves him more than she loves me?
Yep.
But that's fear, because that's never going to happen. You
And,
want her
and
back.
yeah, 100%. I think I can't remember what I call it. I think I called it rabbit stacking. It's like,
Rabbit style.
rabbit. I just made that up. It's
Yeah.
just like somebody used to say, it's like, it's called rabbit stacking. I used to like, in terms like you start building, okay, she's going to marry this guy, or then she's going to call him dad. Then she's going to walk him down the aisle. Then she's going to want to live with him rather than me. And my daughter's not going to want to see me anymore. And then you sit there and you realize, I'm just sitting on the couch right now. Like none of this is real. Like, oh, and the thing is, you start building these problems in your head that aren't real. And next thing you know, you're dealing with this catastrophic problem. Instead of just sitting on the couch, you realize I'm dealing with my daughter not loving me anymore and calling someone else dad. And like nothing's changed. You're just sitting on the couch. You
Yeah.
might be watching Ozark, but I say like I mean, just get out of like this stacking of like problem stacking. And it's like if this, then that, if that, then this, and this, and then the next thing you know, 15 minutes has gone by, and you're living in on the planet Thanksgiving at that point. Like you have no idea what's going on, and you're dealing with a really massive problem.
Right.
Now you're also dealing with the anxiety and stress and pressure of that problem. That's not real, by the way.
It's not
But
real. No.
you don't. And the thing is, you catch yourself doing it, and it's hard to get out of that habit. So I'm like, I'm stacking rabbits again.
I like that term. I'm going to steal that from you.
You can steal away. I said it because it's so bizarre. It doesn't really make any sense. I always think about these like rabbits trying to stack on top of each other that don't want to be stacked. And they deal like now you have a giant pile of rabbits that are just ornery.
I know. I just got that mental image in my head.
Lots of rabbits. Very fluffy, cute rabbits.
Yeah.
They're all very happy and not injured.
Yeah, I love that. It's basically comes down to just kind of staying in the moment. And I really loved what you said. Like I can only control what I can do. For
Yeah.
example, I'm going to be the best pancake maker for me and my daughter.
Yep.
So what do you guys put in your pancakes?
Oh, so this is so bad. This is so bad. So we on Saturday night it's pizza night. So she usually gets like 30 minutes of a movie. And for pizza, it's this neighborhood place that we go to. It's called Domino's, aka Domino's.
Oh my gosh, I thought you were serious.
No, we go to
You
Domino's.
got me.
No, it's from an old show called King of Queens. Like I went to this neighborhood joint called Domino's, and you didn't realize it was a chain. No, but my daughter loves Domino's. I mean,
Domino's, all right.
For better or worse. And of course, when you get Domino's, you can't go without Cinnasticks.
Okay.
So I usually get extra 3 frostings. This is the key here. The next day, you take you put 3 frostings in the refrigerator, and you build the pancake. Let the Cinnastic frosting pour out. Cinnastic frosting on the pancake with sprinkles and 1 cherry, and it looks like a sundae. And she smiles every time. So it's the frosting from Domino's on the pancake. And again, child service is probably going to come get me after hearing that. Give my daughter frosting for breakfast on Sundays. But she mixes the batter. It's more of this. She might take 3 bites of it, to be honest with you. But I mean, we sit there, we make the pancakes together. We put our t-shirts on. We listen to Trolls too on the music. She does not like Dave Matthews like I do. She's made that very abundantly clear. She was interested. She actually once told me, she was, Dad, I'm interested in everything except for Dave Matthews. I'm like, okay, I can live with that.
That's so cute. Yeah.
But yeah, we listen to Trolls too. Mix the pancake batter, pour it out, and we get pictures of the pancakes. They're matching t-shirts, and it's a good way to start the day.
That's an awesome memory.
Oh, I hope so.
Memory she's gonna have.
I hope so. That's the point. So when you focus on what you can control, you're shaping the future more so than anything that's happening inside your head. Like all this worry about the future, you can control the future by doubling down on the present.
Right.
Like that's not going to go anywhere. So yeah, it's great.
What type of parenting schedule do you and your ex-wife have then?
So it was tough. I mean, we're in the classic 70-30. I mean, I maybe one day I'll change. I hope it does. But she moved about 3 hours away, and that was like that was the big hurdle when we were getting separated. Was dealing with that. It was actually supposed to be farther away.
You're still in North Carolina, right?
Yeah, North Carolina is a giant state. So if you're going to get divorced, get divorced in a very small state. It'd be very, very convenient if you're going to stay within the state borders. Go to Rhode Island and get divorced,
That's
perhaps.
to say that. Go to Rhode Island and get
Rhode
divorced.
Island, yeah. Don't go to some place like Alaska. So you don't, yeah.
Or Washington too. Washington, you've got like
Washington's chunk, yeah. That's a sizable piece of land right there. Yeah. So I mean, you can drive 5-6 hours in North Carolina, still be in the same state.
Wow. Okay.
So it's tough. So I mean, like I'm in central North Carolina, and again, I moved down here not knowing a soul. Like I don't know anybody. I have like a whole community of friends now, but it's great. But
And
yeah,
you moved down there because that's where she was moving,
correct.
right? So you left. I mean, to me, that's huge right there. That you essentially, even though you guys were separating, you moved down there to be with your daughter.
We separated after we moved.
Oh, okay.
So I just finished grad school. I just finished. I got my MFA in writing or fiction writing.
Okay.
And I was at the time a Boston firefighter. And I mean, at the time, and it's probably even worse now, 68% of all Boston firefighters were getting cancer.
What?
Oh yeah, it's a really high number. It's 60. Yeah.
I'm going
the gear we wear, the asbestos, all the stuff in the firehouses. The firehouses are 50, 60 years old. They're covered in diesel. The trucks are in the house that you sleep in. The fires, the smoke. I mean, the particles you're breathing in. I mean, it's like being a coal miner up. They're great guys. Love the job. Loved every second of it. But it's like being a coal miner above ground.
Oh, okay.
That's the best way to describe it. But I mean, like, I was up in Boston, and it's a very, very expensive to live up there. And I had 2 friends that were diagnosed and gone in 5 weeks.
No.
Like literally found out they were dying. I mean, this one guy, he was sitting in the doctor's office, and they told him, he's like, you're not going to make it 6 more weeks. He's like, well, what am I doing with you then? He went home, and he didn't make it much longer. I didn't have a real close relationship with them. A lot of other guys did. It hit them really hard. I was new to the job, so I'm not going to claim that he's my friend
Okay.
But I mean, I knew of him, and I just saw. I knew I had 2 guys that I saw. One of my instructors at the fire academy, same thing.
Okay.
In about 5 or 6 weeks, it was all over, and like these great guys. So my ex-wife is like, why don't we just move to North Carolina, because the cost of living in Boston, you can get a 3-bedroom house for $900,000.
And like okay.
Yeah, so you can move out of the city and then buy a lake house down in North Carolina, and it's like, it's okay, let's just do that. And it's kind of a soft retire. I mean. Everyone's got a plan till they get punched in the face, and North Carolina kind of punched me in the face just a little bit. So, but I mean, it's
a divorce.
I mean, well, just because you had a plan. Like you always, no good plan survives contact with the enemy. It's like a military line, but it's like you come down, it's like things are going to change. I had a plan. I was going to retire down here. The house I bought when I first moved down here, I was like, this is the house I'm going to have my grandchildren in.
Okay.
I was there for 6 months. So yeah, it's like I think curveballs happen. So, but yeah, you make the best of it. You move on. There's only one way to go, and it's forward.
So then it goes back to, again, so you're saying, okay, so so you're here, you're in North Carolina, and she's like, okay, I'm going to move 3 hours away. How do you handle that type of curveball?
It was actually supposed to be 5 hours away. It was even farther. Originally it was even farther. So, and then again, I didn't handle it well. And this is right after the separation. So that was the hardest part of it's just trying to figure out where, because I mean, I don't know why we're going that far away, but that was my attorney. I mean, it's like, what do I do? And again, like no one gets, I had absolutely no idea, like what can I do? And to credit my own attorney, like he's like, I found an attorney, and this is important from an attorney like that share the same values as I did. Like he's like, his focus was a child. Like he's like, what are the need to haves? What are the things you'd like to have? What are the things you could just completely live without? And like the one thing for me was like still being able to be a dad and being part of my daughter's life. So that was the priority. So he focused that as a priority. Like he was able to wheel and deal, knowing that not wheel and deal, but negotiate.
I know what you mean.
Right. Just negotiate. It's like in terms of like, this is what we're not going to budge on. This is what we're willing to give up, and we can move here. And this is, so, and again, I still, we meet halfway. I drive an hour and 20 minutes, which isn't that bad. Drive an hour and 20 minutes, pick my daughter up, drive her back, and get her for a couple of weeks in the summertime, and talk every night at 5 o'clock. Sometimes she'll talk to me on the phone for 45 minutes while she's drawing. Just tell me what she's drawing. Oh, she'll just sit there and draw. It's like, all right, I'm drawing the hair now. And what is it? But that's what I mean, it's tough. I mean, it's not easy, but that's what you do.
I don't know, man. I'm sorry. I'm trying to gauge in conversations with my 14 and 16-year-old, and man, I'm lucky if I get like, 5 sentences out of them. So to get 45 minutes.
Oh, wow. It's right. And it's going away. Like it's not going to be there. I mean, they say most of the time you spend with your child is under the age of 12. And by the time they're 12, I mean, they're moving on. And they're trying to get away from you. I mean, which is fine. It's part of the development process. So I mean, every time I was with her, like, this is going away. Like when I walk the dog and she's 6 years old and weighs 50 pounds and wants me to carry her the whole time. Yeah, the answer is yes, because this is going away. I don't know how much longer you're going to want me to carry you. So yeah, I get it. Yeah. How many kids do you have, Lonnie?
I've got two boys, 16 and 14.
Ooh, oh boy.
Goes by fast.
You figure out where they want to go to college yet?
Yeah, no, they do. I mean, they're sweethearts. My boys they're so easy. They really are.
That's
They're
good.
so easy. They're special. And oh my gosh, yeah.
I was not the nicest of children, so I'm still waiting for Carmen to come hit me on this one. So I did whatever I put my parents through. I mean, my two brothers put my parents through. I'm sure it's coming back around. Hit my brother a little harder than my brother's got twins, so he's living the dream right now. Oh boy.
Oh boy.
1-year-old twins.
My mom sent me a text the other day about my kid.
Yeah.
And then my youngest is 14, and she's like, oh yeah, comma is a bitch. And I just had to laugh because I'm like, okay, yes, my youngest is exactly like me, where he's sassy and he's stubborn and he's a know-it-all. But at the same time, because I know he's like me, I know how to handle him.
Good. Yeah.
Like, payback isn't a bitch, Mom, because he's me. So he's a little cutie underneath it all.
I love it. I mean, it's just, she's part me. She's part my ex-wife. So I mean, at least I know how to deal with at least a third of her, at least the part that's, I mean, just, and it's crazy when you see the thing, like your sort of mannerisms and traits and quirks in your son or daughter. Like, yeah, I get it. Like it's almost like a relief when she has the same sort of like weird things that I do, because like I know how to deal with that now. I spent like 38 years of my life trying to figure this out, so maybe I can part some of that on you. And I'm trying to do like this. I tell her about the mindset things. I'm like, we can't control it. If she points to the pool, like, why are they doing that? Like, we can't control them. We can't control them. They're doing their thing. They're not bothering us. Just let it go. Focus on what we can control. So, yeah.
I tell my boys the same thing too. I'm telling my kids all this time, we can't control people, places, and things. We can only control how we respond.
Yep, that's it. That's literally the only thing. I mean, if you can pick one thing, the only thing we control in our entire life is how we respond. I mean, and sometimes like you really have to look about how your responses are, because I'll kick myself later on. Like, I did not respond well. Like, that was a poor response, very poor. And like, sometimes I'm hard on myself about how I respond. But yeah, that's the only thing we can control.
Well, did you respond or did you react?
I reacted. Right.
Yeah.
Right. Reacting's emotional response is calculated or methodical or diligent. Yeah. Reacting is emotional, and it's just tough to step away sometimes. But yeah, stepping away is the best.
It takes practice.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah. You're telling me. I think I just started to figure out the react response thing maybe like 6 months ago, and I'm almost 40. So we'll get there eventually. I'm a slow learner.
I've just figured out myself too. And I'm like 50.
Maybe I'm not a slow learner. Look at me go.
Yeah. See, I just learned it in my mid to late 40s, I think. I don't even know.
Yeah, it's a battle. But yeah, it's just, but yeah, I mean, other thing too, I mean, like 20 years ago, no one talked about mental health. I mean, like nobody did. I mean, it's so bizarre, like how in the forefront is how much information are out there, how many books are out there. And that's the other thing too, is there's books and everything. So, I mean, you can always find a book. If I'm lost, I'll find a book. I mean, how to be a co-parent, find a book, find a podcast. I mean, like literally we're talking about co-parenting. I mean, we're just putting information out because it's so readily available. I mean, and there's someone that's willing to teach you. People love teaching things.
Find a YouTube video.
Find a YouTube video. Perhaps this one, I don't know.
I want to go back to what you said, though, because you said something that was really cool and important, that you said that you had an attorney that had that same value as you, which was putting the focus on your child.
Yep.
Putting the focus on the child doesn't necessarily mean litigation.
Nope.
Because litigation is so emotional and so stressful. And it's like, is that really in the best interest of my child for mommy and daddy to be fighting about who she's going to live with on a primary basis?
Yeah. Yeah. And I didn't know that at the time. I mean, obviously I work with a lot of attorneys now, but I didn't at the time. And I didn't realize how quick people are to say, oh, let's deal with it in court. Let's go to court and truly understand what that means. When you say, let's go to court, I mean, that is a significant undertaking. I mean, it's like going to war. I'm not literally, but it's like there are multiple steps and de-escalation periods in between that. You don't invade a country, just because you're angry. There are steps between. So like yeah, start small. I mean, try to figure out how to talk on text first before we start. But I mean, it's a significant undertaking about going to court. And I was just saying, now when I first got divorced or separated, I was like, okay, I'll talk to lawyers, let the lawyers deal with it. Let's deal with court. I mean, and it's just, I mean, there's much more efficient ways and healthier ways of dealing about it. Again, court has its own purpose. Courts is a fundamental part of this, and it can be, but I mean, it doesn't have to be.
Did you want your daughter to live with you full time?
That was tough. I didn't think I physically couldn't do it. I mean, it's just because I was my ex-wife works remotely, so she was at home, and my daughter at the time of the divorce was 4. And I mean, so I just quit my job as a full-time writer, and I was like, now I have to go out and find classic. I said, I just stopped one job, and I was like, oh, now I have to go find another one. And if I'm going to work full time, for a while, I was commuting back and forth between Lake Norman, North Carolina, and Rock Hill, South Carolina, which is about 45 minutes. So I was only home for maybe like an hour a day.
Oh, okay.
And it was I would have loved to. I just did, like, logistically, feasibly, it just wasn't necessarily going to work. And with her moving away, it was just so many moving parts happening so fast, so quickly. I mean, I wish I could go back and slow it down and maybe do it over again, but that's just not the situation I'm in.
Right. Well, you can't, like how what you're talking about when you're talking about, if you look at the past, you're going to live in regret.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I try. It's right. I mean, I try to make the best decisions I could at the time. I mean, it is, I mean, obviously 2 years post, I mean, that was April of 2020, and here we are in June of 2022. So it's been over 2 years. So, but I mean, I'm in a much different place mentally now than I was then. And it's so much easier for me to look back and say, I would have done this. I mean, I've had 2 years to think about this. I didn't know what I was doing, or I was in charter waters without a compass for a long time. And I'm glad it worked out as well as it did. Still hurts, and it's still always, I mean, everything, when you go to bed at night and you see your daughter's room empty, I mean, it hurts and it's going to hurt, but I mean, that's the way it is. That's the situation I'm in.
If I can touch upon, there's one thing that you said like, and it is right. Like if I knew then what I know now, because you are 2 years, what would you have done differently? If
I would have been less inclined. I just wanted it to be over. And I think I think it's common. I mean, I have divorced friends. We kind of gravitate toward each other now. You're in the divorce club. You say, I just want it to be over. Like because you want to start the next chapter. Like you want to start processing this, close one book and move on and start building the next one. And don't be so eager to close the book before you've read it all. And that's like, so I just want to sit there and like really think about it. It's like, this is what can I do long term? And yeah, I mean, I think I made the best decision at the time that I could. But I wish I just slowed it down, and instead of focusing on just getting it closed and finishing it, make sure I finished it well.
Okay. Well, I mean, it's interesting too, because since it does take a year anyway, but you're talking about like the agreements and such.
So I think, so we separated in like end of April of 2020, but by the end of that summer, by August or so, maybe I think it's probably like late July, early August, we had a separation agreement in place. That's still the governing document that we use now for our co-parenting, and everything is in there, from child support to who gets a child and when. So I mean, it was all resolved by the end of the summer.
Okay.
But, so again, but that was it. But once I signed that and we got notarized, I mean, that was pretty much the last we've had to negotiate or any sort of like, then it's just co-parenting from there on out.
Yeah.
But it was done quick.
Yeah.
We should go slower.
And so in terms of the co-parenting, how are you guys as co-parents?
Work in progress, and we always will be. So I mean, I think her values are based on my daughter, and she wants to be a good mother, and I want to be a good father. I mean, and we're not always going to see eye to eye and what that looks like, but as long as you're willing to, like, when you have a disagreement, you got to be open to talk. And it's just like, do you have a minute? I mean, she's done it multiple times. We run into different issues and things I've done on my weekends, or things she's just like, do you have a minute to talk? And like, yeah, let's talk. And it just like, this is where I'm coming from. Like, this is my viewpoint. Like, there's, let's find the root cause. Like, what do we want to achieve here? And where can we compromise? And like, just, this is it's a situation by situation basis. But if you're opening to listening, both sides have got to be open to listen to the other. If you're going in, and every action has an equal and opposite reaction. So if you open the phone snarky, you make a little jab here or there. I mean, no one's gonna give you what you want by being mean. It's just when has that ever worked? Like, I'm just gonna start throwing a lot of insults. I'm like, oh yeah, I want this.
Yeah.
You have it. Right? You're not gonna browbeat someone into giving you what you want. Like, you got to be respectful. You give the respect, you get the respect back. Like, how do I want to be treated here? Yeah, I want to be a better co-parent than I was a husband, maybe.
Wow. I love that.
Hope so.
I want to be a better co-parent than I was a husband. Yep. I mean, it should be, because co-parenting, you're focused on your child.
Yeah.
Let's keep our focus on our child.
Yep. Let's just keep it that.
What can we do so this child has a secure and healthy attachment to both of us, because she loves both of us equally?
Yeah. And I've been on picnics with my ex-wife and her boyfriend. I mean, so we've gone to pick with my daughter. I mean, we've all three of us have been there. And again, my daughter was her graduation, and she was just graduating from preschool, and she wanted us to go on a picnic, and she wanted to go to her favorite park. And like, I drove 2.5 hours to go there. And I was like, let's just do this. So we sat in the park, all three of us, and had sandwiches. I mean, again, like 2 years ago, like that is unfathomable how I could be in that position. Like, just couldn't imagine being in that position. But I mean, it's just, you look over and you see your daughter smiling and running around and giggling. I mean, how upset can you possibly be?
Oh my gosh, that is too cool.
That's what it is.
Oh my goodness. And did you have a good time on the picnic? Or were you kind of?
Oh goodness, yeah. I mean, because she was happy. I mean, it's like you feel like because you don't know what the right move is. Like when you go have a picnic with your ex-wife and her boyfriend, you have no idea what you're supposed to be doing here. But if your daughter's smiling and she's happy, I mean, like, how can that be bad?
Yeah, and you're just kind of focusing on that.
That's all I'm focusing on. I mean, it's just as weird as the situation may or may not be. But I mean, and again, I remember thinking about this. Like, when I was worried about my daughter liking another like parental father figure.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, think about it. Like, do you really want someone that she doesn't like in her life all the time? Like, what is the opposite of that? Like, what are you actively rooting for? Are you actively somebody that she doesn't like because she likes you better? I mean, that's kind of selfish. I mean, so that at the end of the day, the best situation possible is that the guy that she likes is like, she's happy and has a guy in her life that she is comfortable around. Right. So that's a win. And and he's super nice to her. He treats her very well. She likes him. She speaks very highly of him. And I've spoken to him and said, my daughter likes you. Like, I like you too. Like, that's all it is.
Oh my gosh, that's big, because it is. What's the opposite? That you're
a nightmare. Like,
right?
So you don't want that. So I mean, like, she has someone. Yeah. So because I mean, it might not be happy that you're going home. She's like, well, I'm very excited to see so and so. I'm like, okay. But Dad, don't make me go home, make me see so and so. What are the options?
What are the options? Like, heaven forbid.
It's the best option, but it's the best thing that possibly happened is having someone else in her life that she looks up to. Like, it's just swallow your own pride and move on. I mean, there's only be one dad, there's only one mom. Like you said, no one's ever going to take that from you. But there's another positive influence in life. That can't be a bad thing.
No, that can't be. Oh goodness. And I'm just kind of thinking back to, because my parents were divorced, and I was just kind of thinking back about. Wait, I'm like, wait, should I say this? Like, my stepdad, I just love my stepdad. And to this day, I'm in touch with my ex stepsisters, and I saw my stepdad recently, and my ex stepmom, not so much.
No.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it happens.
Not so much.
Yeah. Hey, we all can't bat 1,000. I mean, not every relationship. Yeah. We especially as a kid, like, you don't have any choice in who these people are bringing in your life. I mean, how it is.
And if I can be truly honest and open here, and I pray to God my dad does not ever listen to this podcast.
Oh boy.
It affected my relationship with my dad, because his wife, I felt, was mean to me and my sister. And I pray to God she did never listen to this podcast either.
Fingers crossed.
I know, right? Gosh, but my dad has even told me, right? And my dad saw it and knew it and recognized it. And he even says, looking back now, there are some things that he regrets. And one of it was not being able to have that relationship with me and my older sister because of her. But I mean, there's nothing he can do.
No.
Right.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. But just looking back, like, I'm just thinking about, like, heaven forbid she was with like a total asshole.
Yeah.
And daughter was just miserable. And
Yeah.
then she grows up with like all of these scars and
Yeah.
all those shitty feelings. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Facts. Absolute facts. So
Wow.
you never know. And no, and you talk to people now, and like when you bring people in your life, you're not even bringing them to your life, you're bringing them to your kids' life. So it's like a double screening process. I mean, it's like, it's not only do I have to like them, my child's gonna be comfortable too. And it's kind of a package deal at this point. So I mean, it's tough.
Yeah. And didn't you tell me in terms of co-parenting that there was like even a Disneyland trip on the horizon that you were going to take with
Disney World
with
in
the ex?
Florida with all the alligators. No, yeah,
World.
yeah. So that was maybe like my like turning point in this. Like I remember I recommended to my ex-wife, because my daughter loves Disney World. I mean, she loves dressing up as princesses. I mean, who doesn't? And I just remember randomly one day I was sitting at work and I just randomly texted my wife, like she was talking about, I can't remember what I was talking about. I just reached out. I'm like, hey, if you ever want to go to Disney World, like with you and your boyfriend and the daughter, and then let's do it. I'm in. I guess I think she'd love that. And I didn't know if that was weird, if that was strange. If I even asked one of my buddies who's his wife is on her second marriage, his first. I'm like, is that mature or weird?
Yeah.
He's like, no, it's mature. He's like, it's like good for you. It's fine. Like, and so I reached out, like, let's do it. And I mean, it's there's a plan to have a plan. I don't know when we're going, but I mean, if we go, if they ask me to go, and I'd be happy to go, and I'd have no issue with it. It might be a little strange, but I mean, like those sort of strange elements just work themselves out when your daughter's riding the Slinky Dog ride in Toy Story World. Have you been to Disney World?
No, in fact, we just got back from Disneyland this year after
Oh,
COVID. Oh, yeah.
I've never been to Disneyland. I lived in San Clemente out in California for a while, but I've never been to Disney World. Only World, never Land.
Okay, wait. So you've been to Disney World, but not Disneyland.
Correct. Okay. Which apparently is not the original. I did not know that. Yeah, I grew up my whole life. I think I realized this like 2 weeks ago. Someone told me Disneyland came first, and I was shocked. I had no idea. I thought Florida.
You didn't know that?
I did not. I mean, I'm from the East Coast. I mean, you West Coast people don't exist to me growing up. It was like a different world.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was like, and my dad never took me to Disney World. He said it was too much traffic. That was, I'm not even kidding. My dad's not on this podcast either, but hey, he told me there's way too much traffic. You're not going.
There's no way traffic?
Yeah, that was the thing. It's too much traffic.
In California?
This is the one in Florida, and whether or not there's traffic there is irrelevant. But that was the reason we're not going. There's too much traffic. I remember him saying, "Oh, there's too much traffic. Not going."
Yeah, there is a lot of traffic though, but
yeah, but I mean, yeah, no, I mean, my dad was commuting, I think, from New Jersey to New York City. He was an FBI agent, so he was traveling, I think, like an hour and a half, 2 hours. I think he was rocking like $17 each way on tolls. I mean, we had a bucket of quarters, but I remember like, hey, so he was driving almost 3 hours a day. So yeah, he has PTSD from driving. If you asked him to get on a car on vacation, he wasn't doing it. Not going to happen.
Yeah.
No Disney World for me. I didn't go to Disney World until I was like 31.
Oh, wow. Okay.
What are you going to do?
Yeah, but going back to that trip though, I mean, just think about your daughter's just going to have like amazing memories though.
I hope so. Like that's all. Yeah, you hope so. Like I have no idea what they'll turn out, but you can focus on what you can focus on. And
right.
If she wants to run around Disney World, then let's do it. Let's figure it out.
I mean, like she had so much fun at the picnic with you three.
Yeah, you would think Disney World would be a step up from the picnic in Raleigh, but it is I don't know. We'll see.
Hey, and to think of it this way too, because you know how like they shove or the merch at you and your kid just wants everything, then you guys can take turns spending your money.
Oh, their merch game is so strong down there. Oh, it's so good. Those guys are experts. I mean, you can't walk off. Oh, so you walk off the ride and you're all wide-eyed from the Slinky Dog ride, and there's Slinky Dogs everywhere. You're sunk.
Yeah.
You're gonna $40 on a slice of pizza and $20 on a Mickey doll. or Woody doll at this point. I think she's more into Woody and Jessie.
Oh, is she a Woody fan?
Woody and Jessie. Yeah, she Toy Story Land was her thing when we were there. She was super into Toy Story. Toy Story 4 had come out, I think, right before we'd gone down there. So she was she told everyone her name was Bonnie for like 3 months. I don't know why, from Toy Story. So she wanted to be Toy Story. So
Oh my gosh. I forgot who I was talking to, but I was talking to someone about Toy Story 4. And I was like, yeah, that was such a great one. And
Yeah.
then I was like, it's a great cartoon when that part when he's like going over to the merry-go-round thing.
Yep.
And then you're like on pins and needles if he's gonna make it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the zoop, 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 zoop. Yep.
I'm like, of course he's gonna make it. And first of all, it's a dang cartoon, but I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm worried about it.
Listen, there'd be a lot of traumatized kids out there if they didn't make it. I mean, listen, that
Yeah.
Duke Kaboom didn't make it. I don't know. Duke Kaboom is my favorite. Let's Kaboom. That was my daughter got me for my birthday, a Duke Kaboom toy. I was like,
Oh
she got me a Duke
wow.
Kaboom.
Oh man.
And oh my goodness, she wanted to make me a cake for my birthday. She wanted a Duke Kaboom cake.
Oh, okay.
So her idea of a Duke Kaboom cake was putting frosting on it and writing the words Duke Kaboom cake on it. So it was a Duke
Yeah, of
Kaboom cake.
course.
That's all. Yeah,
That's
there was
what
just
it
white
is.
frosting with letters that said Duke
Yeah.
Kaboom cake. It's like,
Yeah.
no, just write it on there. I don't want a Duke Kaboom toy. Just write it on there. So my ex-wife, just write it on. So I had the words Duke Kaboom cake.
Wow, that's a lot to put on a cake too.
A lot to put on a cake. It's just a pancake. Life is good.
Well, thank you so much, Eddie,
Thank
for
you,
joining
Lonnie.
us today. I had
Thank
a
you.
oh my gosh, I just thank you so much for, just sharing your
Always.
gosh, and I just can't help but think about it, but in like in Hawaiian, there's this word that's called like mana'o. And that
Oh,
word basically means thank you for sharing your spirit, your mindset, your belief, your values. I'm just trying to think of
what?
the English word that just describes that one.
Yeah, you have to teach me that word right now. I gotta learn. Say it
Like,
slowly.
so it's called mana'o.
Mana'o?
Mana'o.
Mana'o.
Yeah, and it's a base, and all I can think of is like five English words that describe that one Hawaiian word, and it just basically means your belief system, your value, your mindset, just in a way like who you are.
Hawaiians are the most like efficient language. I mean, you guys have
It
one
is.
word that speaks volumes. I know I've always been fascinated.
Yeah, it is, and it's so hard to that one Hawaiian word is like so. I've got to say five English words to say what it means because Hawaiian is so metaphorical.
Yeah, yeah. It's crazy because we're sitting there talking about this one word. I mean, if you can express, I mean, that's like the writer's dream is to be able to express that much with one word like that. That's the gem right there.
Well, then I guess you got to take Hawaiian language.
I got to take Hawaiian language. How
Yeah,
many letters do you guys have? It's not that many, right?
no, it's not that much. That's why there's so much